Hey agents, the question of which assault rifle in the Division 2 is the best often comes up. And I love it when people give answers like, the Carbine 7 is the best AR, or nothing comes close to the FAMAS, as if they're factual statements. In reality, there is no unanimous best AR for every player. But in this video, I'm going to give you some insight into which AR might be best for you, taking into consideration damage, recoil and accuracy, and rate of fire. While I blabber on, I'll be showing you the recoil pattern for every AR in the game, aside from a few named variants which, generally speaking, have the same recoil as the regular high-end versions. So first off, you've got damage. You can break it down to burst damage and sustained damage. Burst is just your damage per bullet multiplied by your rate of fire. In PvP, burst damage is king, which is why the FAMAS is often thought of as the best assault rifle, because after the Bighorn, it has the highest burst damage of all ARs. Sustained damage, on the other hand, includes stats like rate of fire, mag size, and reload speed. Generally speaking, lower rate of fire and higher damage per bullet weapons like the AKM and TKB 408 have the highest sustained damage. Even the Eagle Bearer with its 60 round mag has really high sustained damage. While burst damage is king in PvP, sustained damage can be stronger in PvE because you more often find yourself surrounded by multiple enemies. Now, recoil and accuracy are stats that a lot of players ignore. Choosing a gun you feel comfortable with could determine how many shots you hit, and the more shots you hit, obviously, the more damage you'll deal. Now, there's not one recoil pattern that is best for everyone. Personally, I like a recoil that has a moderate vertical pull to take me up to the head. This is the main reason I like the FAMAS. That, and it has a very consistent recoil. It pulls in the exact same direction the whole time. ARs like the FAMAS, ACR, and MK16 are very easy to learn, even though they have a pretty strong pull, for the reason that they pull in a straight line with very little deviation. Then there are guns like the Police M4, Carbine 7, CTAR, and FAL that, while having a very moderate amount of recoil, there's a little back and forth happening, and you'll need to learn to compensate for this in order to stick to your target. As mentioned earlier, it's up to you to decide whether you prefer a consistent recoil or one with less pull. And remember, more landed shots equals more damage. Hitting just 3 extra bullets per magazine will yield more than a 5% damage increase. Finally, accuracy, or bullet spread, is pretty obvious. A more accurate gun will be better for headshots and long-range encounters. The ACR is insanely accurate, and coupled with its consistent recoil, it's easy to see why they had to lower its damage output. I believe it's the most underrated AR in the game, which is understandable because everybody's obsessed with numbers, and that's exactly where it's lacking. Anyways, other very accurate ARs are the F2000 and the FAMAS. And don't let the missing mod slot scare you away from the F2000, it's still a very good gun. So the last thing I'll talk about is rate of fire. After hundreds of thousands of hours in the Division 2, one thing I've noticed is that guns tend to be more or less athletic depending on their rate of fire. The higher the rate of fire, the more athletic the AR. And we need to be as athletic as possible in close quarters with all the sharp movements happening, so guns like the FAMAS, F2000, and Bighorn will let you quickly make those big adjustments to your aim, whereas lower rate of fire ARs like the ACR and AKM will be easier to make smaller, more precise adjustments, perfect for shooting enemies at range. And that's it. That's the best AR for you. And yes, I know I didn't give you any top AR or tier lists, but that's all nonsense. Call my title clickbait if you want, I don't care. Because the assault rifles in the Division 2 are so well balanced, there isn't one true best AR. You just need to consider what I've gone over. Test out a handful of ARs for yourself, and you'll have a better idea of what works for you and what doesn't. Too many times I see people use the FAMAS or Kingbreaker because it shreds in the firing range, but then on the battlefield, they miss all their shots. Be honest with yourself. If you're missing too many shots, try a different gun. Or put on an Omega suppressor instead of trying to squeeze out a little more crit damage. Equip Sharpshooter for another 15% recoil control instead of being Firewall medkit reliant. There are plenty of options to help you suck less. And for those of you who just need to be told what to use, if I had to recommend an AR, I'd say the FAMAS at close to mid-range and the Police M4 at mid to long range. The FAL is very good, but personally I'm used to high rate of fire weapons, so I don't particularly like the lack of athleticism the FAL has. Anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time, happy farming, agents.